All right, welcome to the live. I'm about to go live on TikTok as well. Let's do it. All right, how should I set this up? How's it going, y'all? Just here to do some Akashic Records readings. A lot of times we do not even know who has been draining us. So, one of the best things about having your Akashic Records read is that you can see who's been draining you. You can tell which people in your life are actually allowing you to thrive more and which people in your life are actually causing you to be a lot more drained. And this is insanely important. It's so important. I'm live on YouTube and TikTok right now, so I'm going back and forth to see the chats. Hi, Deirdre. Deirdre says, "Hi, Chris. What does that mean? Are you doing it as a collective?" No, I'm doing individual Akashic Records readings for people that want one. So, an Akashic Records reading is essentially where I tune in intuitively to what's going on in your soul. So, our souls have a plan, they have a strategy for life, and a lot of times our ego is going against our soul's strategy. So that would be like if your head was trying to do something and your arms were trying to do something different. Obviously, you would not get a lot done. So what happens to a lot of people is they stay stuck in this mindset where they are trying to do what they think they're supposed to do instead of what their soul is actually wanting them to do. And because of this, they get stuck. Let's say you want to manifest money, but your soul wants you to work on your deeper inner child healing. Then you're not going to be able to manifest a bunch of money. And it doesn't matter how many abundance exercises you do, how many blocks you clear. If your soul does not want you to have money yet, then you just won't have money. So you got to know what your soul is actually working through. And how's it going, everyone on TikTok as well? I'm doing a live on YouTube and TikTok at the same time. So I'm just answering questions that come up on either. And if anybody does want an Akashic Records reading, then just let me know and I can tap in with you. Yeah. Deirdre said, "How do we volunteer?" So I don't have the thing up on YouTube, but it's a donation based thing. So you just send me a donation via Venmo, and then I'll tap in on live. I'll start channeling and meditate and tap into the lessons that you're. So here's the three things we go over: your soul's current lesson. So whatever your soul is currently facing now, we tap into what you need to release. So whatever might be blocking you. And then we also tap into who has been draining you, because a lot of the time we have energetic vampires, which, that's a harsh word, but people in our life that are actually draining our energy without us even knowing a lot of the time. I'll type it into the chat. So there's my Venmo, Deirdre. And how's it going, everyone on TikTok? TikTok. We're about to do an Akashic Records reading for Deirdre, who is joining us on YouTube. Let's see. And for those of you that don't know that just joined, an Akashic Records reading is basically when you tap into somebody's soul blueprint. So it's whatever's going on in their soul. So, for example, for me, what I like to tap into is the soul's current lesson. So, the lessons that the soul is currently going through. I tap into what to release. So, what you should be releasing, like what type of block. And then I tap into who has been draining you, if anybody. So, tapping into the friends that might be draining you. Also, tapping into anybody from your past that might be draining you. Sometimes your exes or past friends or even parents or people that you aren't as in contact with as much can oftentimes be draining your energy. And Deirdre, just let me know in the chat when you send that through, and I'll start tapping in. I'm checking my notifications too. Awesome. Thank you so much for the donation, Deirdre, and time to tap in. And anyone watching, I want to let you know you guys can do this too if you have intuitive capabilities. Not everyone has intuitive capabilities, but a lot of people do, especially people drawn to spirituality. And if you just refine your abilities a little bit, then you'll be able to channel a narrow band channel, which is information directly from whatever you're tapping into. So we're tapping into Deirdre Sanborn. Hmm. Hmm. First thing I'm picking up is a feeling of coldness. So let's go into So one of the biggest lessons that's coming up for you right now is that life is happening for you, not to you. So there might be some challenges coming up right now in your life that you've maybe been confused about or asking the universe, why is this happening? I did this to prevent that, or I'm working so hard in this way. And God or the universe, whatever you want to say, is inviting you to learn the lesson of embracing what is here in front of you. Because although sometimes what's here in front of us is totally against what our ego or our mind wants, very often the exact thing that we need is right in front of us. And that can sometimes feel like almost like a wet towel energy, like this kind of drooping, like you know, you don't even want to deal with it. And it's this stuck energy. And what I want you to work on is tuning in with the energy that's in front of you and embracing it because it's part of your reality. Tune into what's really here in this moment. There's a lot of noise. Cut through the noise and tune into what is actually here. Tune into what's actually here. And then in terms of what to release, a big message saying solar plexus. So something in your solar plexus. You can tune in, Deirdre, right now if you'd like. Just take a few deep breaths and relax. And everyone else that's watching right now can tune in as well. And you can just relax your stomach, which this area is called the solar plexus in the top of the stomach. And take a few deep breaths and kind of let your rib cage separate and relax. And then what I like to do, this can sometimes hurt a little bit sometimes, but take your fingers and kind of press into your solar plexus and see if there's any tension there. And if there is, try to just break it up with a little massage, and then by breathing really deep into your solar plexus. And tell yourself, I'm ready to release whatever I'm holding on to in my solar plexus. I'm ready to release whatever it is that I'm holding on to, that I'm no longer supposed to be holding on to. And now keep moving with that. And we're moving into the next section, which is who is draining you, if anybody. I'm getting a message that there's a man in your life that doesn't know that they are draining you. It's not someone that is intentionally draining you or like a narcissist or somebody that is out to get you, but it's somebody that is using your energy without knowing it. So it could be someone that you might have a codependent bond with, like a partner, a family member. But I'm feeling something. It's not big. You're mostly in your own energy, but there is something where somebody is tapping into your frequency and pulling from you. But it's very subtle, and I think it's related to your solar plexus. It's like your decision making. Someone's impeding your decision making, and it's important for you to do spiritual work to protect your decision making energy. It's restricted in your energy. So remember that you can go into this energetically and you can work through this. It's not something that you have to handle in your external. A lot of times when we handle something in the internal, in the energetic, then everything in the external solves itself. Not all the time. Sometimes we have to do stuff, right? But a lot of time, and in this case for you, I'm feeling this energy that's stuck, that if you start moving it with meditation, breath work, and some activation, you'll be able to break it up and essentially claim back your energy. Boom. Deirdre just said, I literally just broke up with him. And does that describe what I was saying? Is that pretty much describe the energy in that relationship? For that reason. Wow. Very, very powerful. Then if that is showing up instantly like that, then you should probably right after this go into some meditation. And I'm getting a lot of air energy. You need like your own space and your own breath again. So maybe even if like go somewhere fresh and new, maybe drive 45 minutes away and go visit some garden or something brand new that allows you to have this refreshed feeling. I think that's what's being called forth to you, is that refreshing. You need to kind of clear out and reset, especially in your decision-making ability. So awesome. And thank you so much for that donation. And I hope that helped. I hope that resonated. I'm glad we touched on something very clear, but even everything else I was saying, tap into as well, because there's some reason. Bring warmth into your life. I don't know why I was feeling coldness, but bring a lot of warmth, whether that's even just giving yourself a hug or, going to a spa or jacuzzi or something really nice. But bring a lot of warmth back. Even cuddling up in a bunch of blankets can be really good as well. So beautiful. Awesome. And just know we all go through stuff like that. I totally feel you. I totally empathize. I've been in plenty of situations where people are just weighing on me and taking my energy and holding me back. And it's the hardest part is creating that separation in the physical, which is something you already did. So, yeah, sending blessings your way. And yeah, very glad you participated today. That was so awesome. Was an amazing closing. Whoops. Popping back onto TikTok. Oh, whoops. And also, if anything else came up, if you had any other questions about the reading that I just gave you, or if you're curious about anything, drop a question in the chat. I'm very happy to answer it. And how's it going, everyone else that's here on YouTube? We just did an Akashic Records reading for Deirdre. And that's what I'm up here doing today, is giving people some Akashic Records readings, which is basically just tapping into your soul's blueprint. So everybody's soul has a blueprint. It basically has something that they want to work on. And a lot of times our ego is going the other direction. So like our ego might be trying to unblock something money block related, but we really need to heal our inner child. So Akashic Records readings help us hone in on what our soul is actually trying to do, so that when we are in our physical, in our ego, we can actually align with what our soul wants. So it makes it a lot easier to just get into that flow. Awesome. And then also, it's very powerful to tap into what the energy from the collective is that's regarding you. So a lot of times we are in disharmony with the collective. And if we're in disharmony with the collective, then what happens is everything we do is just going to fail because it's coming from disharmony. Even if we ourselves are good people, we are doing meditation and we're doing all this awesome stuff, so much of the time, it's really shocking to say, but if we are actually in disharmony on a deep level, like if we're living in fear, then the universe is going to reflect disharmony to us. It really doesn't matter how good of a person we are. It doesn't matter how much meditation we've done. If we are in a state of disharmony, then disharmony shall be reflected back. So it's so important to tap in with your frequency relative to Earth, your frequency relative to God. Because oftentimes, if we tune into our own frequency and just go off what feels good, then we'll actually end up out of alignment and in disharmony. So yeah, we're doing Akashic Records readings today. It's one of my favorite things to do because it's so instant and you can help people so instantly with it. You know, you can just tap right in and get them some information that they might be missing. So yeah. And also, we're just hanging out. So if you guys have any questions or if you are curious about anything, I also offer free discovery calls for people that are going through something and want someone to talk to and are thinking about maybe getting some extra help. Then I do offer free discovery calls, and that's at the link in my bio. Very cool. Very cool. And also, yeah, let's see. What are some things coming through right now? The biggest message coming through to me lately is trust. There are many people that simply do not trust themselves. There are many people that simply do not trust the universe or God. There are many people that don't trust other people and don't trust their friends. And what I've seen is that that is the number one thing that holds people back, is actually their lack of trust. Because if you trust, then you can engage. When you trust, you engage with life. When you are in mistrust, you're not able to be yourself because there's a barrier between who you are and what you express. So when we're stuck in this energy and we're stuck in this paradigm of mistrust, then the universe is going to continuously give us opportunities to take a leap of faith. But if we're living out of trust, then so much of the time we will not take that opportunity for the exact reason that we're stuck in that predicament, because we can't trust things. And trusting is a very fundamental step to manifestation. Without trust, there really cannot be any true manifestation that comes from you. You'll manifest something that's mistrustful. You'll manifest something that's fearful. You'll manifest something that creates fear. Yeah. Awesome. And also, this is a Q&A spot. So if anybody has any questions about spirituality, about meditation, about raising your vibration, manifestation, you can also ask those questions in the chat, and I'm very, very happy to answer them. So this is also just like a Q&A about life. And then as people, we just did an awesome reading for Deirdre, which was so epic. And I we tapped into a solar plexus block that she needs to clear, as well as some cords that are connecting her to her ex. One of the biggest things, let's talk about how to have trust, because a lot of people don't even realize they need trust. And that's kind of crazy to me. A lot of people really think they just need more money and their partner to like them back. That's crazy to me, because I've had money and I've had a partner that loves me. And I'll tell you, it doesn't fill that hole inside of you. It doesn't fill the void. So if you have a void within you and you think, if only I made six figures, then I will be good, then just know it's probably not true. So much of the time, life is life. Whether you're rich, poor, whether you have the person you love or you don't, life is just life. Like, it hurts on some days and it feels good on other days. And that's life. And so a lot of people are living in this paradigm where they're obsessively trying to get whatever it is that they want. They're obsessed with it. They can't even think of anything else. They wake up thinking about a partner that won't text them back, or they wake up thinking about the money they wish they had. And what happens with people that are living in this paradigm is that they always have something wrong. There's always something wrong, because there has to be. If there wasn't anything wrong, they would turn into a pile of mush. It sounds crazy because a lot of us spend our whole lives simply trying to not have things go wrong. But when nothing is going wrong, a lot of people are unable to be happy. When everything's perfect, people collapse. And if you've never been in a place where your whole life is perfect, then you won't know what I'm saying, because your entire life you've been trying to get something and you've never gotten it. But I can tell you, because I've gotten everything that I want. Not saying I have everything I want in this exact moment, but I've had everything that I want. I've had it at times. There's not one thing that has evaded my grasp. I've had tons of money. I've had tons of fame. I've had tons of people telling me I'm amazing and I healed them and I changed their life. I've had it all, and it doesn't fill the void that God can only fill. It really doesn't. And I don't mean like a religion. I mean actually just having a very beautiful relationship with God or the universe or existence or life. Having a very beautiful relationship with it. Because a lot of people, they get the money, but they don't realize they're out of alignment with life. So it still hurts. A lot of people get the partner. They don't realize they're still out of alignment with life and God. So it still hurts. And then other people can be broke with no one caring about them, and they can find God and they can realize why nothing else matters. That's the one thing that I have that I wish I could share with the rest of the world is when I close my eyes, I am at peace. Although I may go through struggle and I may go through ups and downs in my life, within me, I am good. I'm free. I'm in full surrender to God. I have no fear of death. I have no fear of life. I'm good. And a lot of people, it's really sad to say, but their external life is where they feel safe. And when they go into their inner world, it's like a war. The one thing that I'm so blessed to have is that my inner world is a sanctuary. My inner world is a palace of God. My outer world sometimes has issues still, because that's life. You never have a perfect life. You always have issues. But when I close my eyes, when I go into meditation, even if I just take a deep breath, I'm good. No fears. I'm not afraid of God. I'm not afraid of death. I'm not afraid of what might happen. I'm not afraid of being wrong. I'm not afraid of anything. I'm afraid of I'm afraid of spiders in the physical, but I'm not afraid of anything spiritual. There's not one thing that scares me spiritually. There's not one thing in my inner world that scares me. There's not one thing I've done that I cannot live with. There's not anything I've said that I can't face. And that is what I love, that I can be like completely bare with myself and just be with myself. And that's what I like to help other people have, is that full faith in God, the full faith in the universe, if you will, full faith in how things are going in your life. I have some free discovery calls for people that want to do a free session with me and chop it up and learn more about what's going on within their life. Then I do offer free calls. You just have to fill out the form on my page. So you can find that. And then I'm also doing donation-based Akashic Records readings right now. So if anybody wants to have me tap in intuitively to what's going on in their soul and maybe why they might feel some turmoil or why they might feel this feeling like things aren't quite working how they would want them to, then I'd love to help you out with that. So for Akashic Records readings, it's your soul's current lesson, what has been draining you, and what to release. So your sometimes our soul is going through something and our ego is trying to solve a different problem. For example, our soul might be trying to figure out how to heal our inner child and heal our trauma. But our ego might be trying to figure out how to manifest $100,000. And if we continuously try to clear our abundance blocks, instead of focusing on what our soul wants us to clear, then we're going to keep hitting a wall. Because if your soul doesn't want you to clear your abundance blocks, then you're probably not going to clear them. If you were ready to clear them, then your soul would present them to you and remove them through things that come up in life. So that's why it's really important to tap in. And that's why I like helping people with Akashic Records readings, is because I can help them understand what direction their soul is actually pointing towards so that they're able to go smoothly. So they're not hitting walls every week or every day, but they're actually advancing and growing and expanding and reaching new heights, right? Because they're in alignment with their spirit, instead of like a lot of people are in alignment with their wants and needs of their ego, which is not bad. It's not evil to be like that. It's just lower. It's just solar plexus-y. It's sacral it's survival. In our spiritual centers, we aren't concerned with that stuff. Yeah, and then also for anybody, I'm doing Q&A. So if you have any questions about spirituality or manifestation, Like for me, I live in Hawaii and I have been a full-time spiritual healer for 5 years. I've paid my rent off spiritual work for the past 5 years. So I'm a good person to ask. That's all I'm saying. I've done what a lot of people are trying to do. And yeah, and you could do it too. You could do it too. You could do whatever your dream actually is. You could go beyond where I'm at. You could go way beyond. I'm not even that far along the journey. Like I'm not wealthy. I've been able to support myself off for 5 years, but I'm not in like a wealthy place yet. And that's what I'm still working on manifesting. But like I was saying earlier, my soul is not working on making me $1 million in this second. You know, it's part of my journey. And at some point, if you check in with me within a couple years, you'll see me having a lot of influence and money. But I'm not in a rush to get there. I love my life now. I love being here with you guys, talking to you right now. I love going outside. Like I'm kind of like a kid. Like it's like if you told a kid, here, you get $1 million. Like the kid would be like, so what? Like I'm gonna go play with my toys outside. That's kind of like how I am. Except I would be more excited because like it would take stress off my plate. But at the same time, like I'm not so concerned with buying a nice house or whatever. I'm more concerned with like spending time in nature, hanging out with people I like, helping people. That's what I'm concerned about. That's all that I think about, really. And if anyone didn't hear before, I'm doing free clarity calls. So it's like a 30-minute Zoom session where we basically go deep on whatever's going on in your life now. So if you want one of those, you can book them at the link in my bio. And they're totally free. And it's a great opportunity. Let's talk about who might be draining you, because this is a really important thing to tap into. A lot of the time when we're meditating, we're taking in so much amazing energy, and then we have a person in our life that just drains it all away. So we're meditating for 30 minutes and then they're draining us for 30 minutes, and then we end up at baseline, and then they don't even get to benefit. They don't even get to benefit from the energy because they're out of alignment with it. So they just disperse the energy really fast because they can't hold it. So it's so important to tap into. But one thing you can do, ask yourself, does anybody have any energetic cords to me that are draining me? And then just sit in silence for like 10 seconds. Try not to answer it yourself, but try to detect. Try to scan your body and notice. So ask yourself, are there any cords within me that I should release? Am I being drained by anybody that I should let go of? Or at least let go of the cord. I cut cords with my mom sometimes. And it makes our relationship better. It's because cords are made of lower vibration. So cutting a cord with someone gets rid of the lower vibration between you two. So if there's a actual love there, it'll enhance the love. But if there's not love there, then it'll separate you. So this is what happens to a lot of people. They think they're in love, but they just have like 10 cords connected to a person. And then once they cut the cords, there's nothing left. But what can happen with some people is they are in a beautiful relationship and there's so much love, but there's also cords. And when you cut the cords in that relationship, then it gives space for the real connection to blossom. This is fun. I like being on live. I used to go live like for hours every single week. But then I stopped. I don't know why. It's really nice though. And for anyone that just joined, I'm just here to be a space for you, really. I can be a mirror, I can be a reflection. And it's just a space for you to feel connected to yourself and feel connected to God. Because we're all beautiful children of God and we all deserve to feel that. Life is kind of like a psychedelic trip. Life is this healing process that our soul is going through. And we sometimes forget, and we think life is here to make us happy. But if life was here to make us happy, it would probably look different, no? Don't you think the world would be set up a little bit differently if it was here to make us happy? That's what I always think about. If life was supposed to make us happy in terms of please us and give us everything we want, then life would look different. It wouldn't look like it does. But when I look at life, it reminds me that there is something here. And it seems to be more of a training grounds or a transformation chamber. So the way that I look at life is like it's a chamber for transformation. I think that our souls come here in order to go through a certain type of growth that we're unable to go through when we are in spirit form. And so because of that, it can be very, very difficult to live on earth, even if you're a very high powered soul, even if you have a lot of love. And that's because it's supposed to be like that. It's not supposed to be super easy. It's not supposed to be, you're not supposed to get everything you want the second you ask for it. You're supposed to get everything you want the second you become everything you want. Catch that? You get everything you want the second you become everything you want. I love that. You get everything you want the second that you become everything that you want. So many of us are trying to get what we want out of life instead of realizing that we are what we want. You are what you are looking for. You are what you actually want. And the reason you look for other things outside of yourself is because you don't even know who you are. What does life feel like to you guys? Does it feel like a mistake almost? Like it shouldn't be happening the way that it is? Or does it feel like a blessing, even when it's hard? That's a really interesting question to ask yourself. If life actually was just you get everything you want, what do you think it would be like? Do you think you would enjoy it? If you always just got what you wanted instantly? We would probably lose ourselves. I think you would lose yourself. I think you would lose yourself if you constantly got everything you wanted. And I think the fact that we don't get everything we want is actually more proof that God is just trying to help us find ourselves. And especially because things go so wrong when we're out of alignment. Things go so wrong. You can have everything set up perfectly, but if you're in disharmony, you're probably going to mess it up. And that's just how it is. That's just how it is. Do you trust the universe? Do you trust God? Hmm. Hmm. And for everyone that just joined, I'm giving away a couple of free clarity calls. So if you want to do a free Zoom session with me, you could go to the link in my bio. And we're doing some Akashic Records readings. And then also I'm just answering questions. So any questions asked in the chat, I'll do my best to answer if I see them go by. And then also here and there, people have been purchasing Akashic Records readings, which is really fun, but no pressure. How are you guys feeling? I want to see some post something. If you haven't posted anything yet, just post an emoji. Or if you don't want to engage like that, you can just like the live. On the laptop, I got some people hanging out here too. A lot of people are codependent. A lot of people are codependent and it ruins their life. So many people are codependent in their energy, but in their mindset, they think that they're not codependent. The key, if you're a worrier, you're codependent. Sorry. Even if you don't think you're codependent. Because that's the trait of being codependent with someone. Because you're energetically affected by them. How can I add value to you guys? Let me know. I feel like one of the biggest challenges that I've overcome more recently is sensitivity. I used to be so thrown off by my sensitivity. It was like everything would break me, and then I would get back, but then it would break me again. And then I would get back, and then it would break me again. And I thought for the longest time that it was just a trait of being a sensitive person. But it's really not. It's not. Because I'm still very sensitive right now, but I'm not overwhelmed by the world. Like I can be on live here and it doesn't even stress me out if I have nothing to say or whatever. But I remember even just like a couple weeks ago, I was a lot more overwhelmed in public. And recently I healed through this block in my heart space that it allowed me to embrace all emotions instead of seeing some emotions as bad or as negative. But if I'm feeling anxiety, I can feel it as light. If I'm feeling heaviness, it doesn't feel like it's suffocating me. And I think that's one of my biggest wins lately is I've kind of overcome the negative side effects of my sensitivity. And now I'm basically only experiencing the positives of my sensitivity, which is really awesome. Because I always have loved the positive aspects of my sensitivity, not so much the negative ones. But yeah. And I feel like a lot of people get stuck in their sensitivity instead of getting to the point where it's able to be used as a superpower. So our sensitivity can sometimes hold us back, and that's why we numb ourselves and block it off. But when we feel a lot, it doesn't instantly get better either. It gets harder in the beginning. It gets harder to experience life. But then if we keep opening up, then it all clears out and we get to this point where we are what I would call with life. You're present with life again. Instead of being wedged back inside of your psyche, you get back into the face of life. But you have to get through that middle phase. It feels better to feel numb than it does to feel the beginning stages of opening up. But if you continue opening up and letting yourself feel all of the emotions and just letting yourself be in pain throughout the day, this is what was really hard for me. When I would numb myself, I would just avoid, I would try to do stuff and just move forward, move past it. But then what really helped me is in embracing that I was actually just in pain that day. And it doesn't mean I would act like complaining and whining about it. I would just accept it to myself, like, oh, this, I'm not going to try to make this feel better. I'm not going to try to force this to feel better. I'm going to do my best with today, and I'm going to feel that pain. And what happens after a while is you get adjusted to the feeling and it doesn't weigh on you anymore. It's kind of like when you first go to the gym, it's so hard to lift weights and you get so sore. But after a while, your heart can like lift the weights of heavy emotions and your heart gets stronger and you still feel sensitive and you still get affected by things, but they don't throw you off. That's the difference. You still feel it, but your mind stays sharp, your voice stays sharp, you're able to be present still, but you still feel it. In the beginning of opening up, though, sensitivity overwhelms us. It jerks us left and right until we let go and go back into numbing. So just remember to stay with the pain. If you're healing from something, or if you're just becoming more sensitive, stay with the pain, because the pain actually, it's usually not that bad. The actual moment to moment experience in your body is not that bad. It's the story about it that's bad. The actual experience of energetic pain, it just feels heavy, kind of nauseating, but it doesn't feel bad. Pain starts to feel bad when our mind is fighting it and telling it it needs to leave, or telling it it needs to be different, or that it shouldn't be there in the first place. I think that's like the best thing a sensitive person can do, is actually just learn to embrace how intense their sensitivity is, because sensitive people always numb themselves, and it's really sad. They numb themselves. So one of the biggest superpowers as a sensitive person is just to not numb yourself. And I don't only mean that in terms of like drugs or something, like numbing yourself with scrolling. Like if you guys are popping by scrolling and then you're going to go back to scrolling, that can be numbing. Netflix can be numbing. Food is like one of the biggest things that Americans use to numb themselves, is food. Because it really does. Like if you eat some like heavy food, it'll really just put you in a calm state if you're going through a lot of intense emotions. So I totally understand why people do it, but it just doesn't work long term, because it gets the emotions stuck, and then they ferment in your system. And for those of you joining right now, I'm here for you. Whatever you need, I'm here to answer questions, give guidance. I'm also doing Akashic Records readings if you want to go deep. And if it's getting a little boring, throw in a random comment, stir up the pot, or ask me a question or something. But otherwise, I'm happy to be here. I've had a really fun time on this live. Connected with some awesome people, did an awesome reading, Akashic Records. Yeah, I love doing lives now. It's so fun. I haven't done this in a while. It feels really good. It feels really good. Also, if you have suggestions for content that I should make, I'd love to make the exact video that you want to hear more about or something. Snowfire says, are Akashic Records not changeable, flexible? It's totally flexible. It's almost like it's the records. It's like files. So everything you do changes them. And everything in the universe, it's a constant thing in flux. Yeah. But there are like, it's almost like there are clear light posts within the records of things that you agreed to wholeheartedly when you began this life. And those things usually don't change unless you actively go against them and try to change them. But what we're doing with the Akashic Records readings today is learning about your soul's current lesson. So whatever your soul is currently working through, sometimes your ego is trying to work through a financial block, but your soul is trying to work through an inner child wound. And if you're trying to work through the financial block, you're going to keep hitting a wall because your soul doesn't want you to be working on that. The other thing is looking up what to release. So looking through the Akashic and knowing what's at the surface that's ready to leave of your energy field. And then the last one is tapping into who has been draining you, because a lot of times we have people in our life that are pulling and draining our energy through cords. And it's so important to cut them and to create space between those people. And yeah. So I hope that explains a little more what the Akashic Records are. And then for me, how I work with them is I just tune in and stuff starts happening. Like if you watch the beginning of this live, I was doing reading for Deirdre, and my eyes kind of flutter and I just start receiving stuff. What are my views on ETs? Very good question. So I do believe in ETs, and I do think that there are ETs that are trying to spiritually influence us in a positive way. But I do also think there are other ETs that put us in this predicament. So I believe in this thing called the worship gene. I think that humans were programmed to worship things, whether it be their king or a religious leader or a cult leader or some spiritual symbol or some higher being. I think that worship is not actually something that is natural to animals or to humankind, but I think that worship was something that was genetically engineered when humans were created so that we would stay stuck in the solar plexus energy, and that we would become solar plexus battery packs for these lower energy but higher intelligence ETs that basically seeded us on Earth. That's what I personally think. So I think that it's so important when you're channeling or connecting with ETs that you use the phrase only the ones that are there to serve love. Serve love means serve harmony, which means serve the collective. And there are only two types of beings in the universe. There are beings that serve love, and there are beings that serve self. And self doesn't mean the Atman, the universal self. Self is the identity of a separate self. So beings either serve themselves, which is like ego, right? Or they serve the all, which includes them. So it's so important when you're working with ETs to say, connecting with the Pleiadians that serve love, connecting with the Arcturians that serve love, connecting with my guides that serve love. Because you have guides that are guiding you down the self-service path too. You have, and that's what people call like negative entities, are basically guides that are trying to guide you down the self-service path into being a more egoically centered being. So that's what I think of ETs. I think that we were probably seeded by Anunnaki or something like that, and they imbued us with the worship gene, which is basically an OCD obsession with worship. Humans need to worship something. If you look at any human, you'll find that they probably worship something. A lot of humans on earth worship their own religion. So what Christians worship Jesus, Jews worship Hashem, Muslims worship Allah, right? But even spiritual people usually worship source or worship like certain energies or worship nature, you know? Um, but then there's non-spiritual people that worship money or worship pleasure or worship justice. That's even a lower level, is to worship being right. A lot of people worship knowledge. So I feel like a lot of people are stuck in the energy of worship. They want to find something to give themselves to. But I feel like that is so low frequency, to just give yourself away to something else. And I think we were programmed to think it's a good way of being, to worship things. And so I think there are certain beings that want to keep us in the worshiping energy. And there are certain beings that want to free us from worship and put us into our natural state as existing beings that exist, right? We don't need to worship anything. We don't need to worship. Worship is negative. Worship is self-sacrificial. Worship is out of alignment with love and harmony. So that's my view on ETs. Is there are some ETs that want us to worship them. You should definitely try not to tune into them, including religious ideas are honestly energetic siphons. A lot of religions are energetic siphons that steal energy from their followers and give them to the higher up people in the religion, and also to negative entities that are basically hijacking the worship energy. Snowfire says, I'm new, so forgive me if I'm asking too many questions. What are your views on Sasquatch? Are they low vibration or part of the ET level? I don't know. I would assume there's probably a lot of really weird types of beings that live on Earth and are able to hide from humans, whether they're interdimensional or whether it's just different timelines of Earth, or whether they're spiritual beings that kind of have an incarnation. Like I definitely believe in fae. I believe in fairies, but I think they are lower level. So yeah, anything that's not like a beaming ball of love is going to be lower than a human, if that makes sense. Because humans are on the brink of becoming a beaming ball of love. So anything that's not a beaming ball of love is going to be lower than a human being. Elementals, yeah, that's what I call them, fae. Yeah, they're lower. They're lower. They're like taking a break from humanity, and a lot of people incarnate as an elemental and a human at different times, but they're lower. They should be learning from us. We don't learn lessons from the fae. We teach the fae. So yeah, any being you're tapping in with, you want to say, I any being that you're tapping in with, you want to tap in and say something like, only if you serve love. Do I believe in Jesus? I 100% believe he was a man. Yeah, I believe in the man Jesus as a human being, as a very beautiful human. But I'm very against Christianity, very anti-Christian. I think Christianity is probably the worst thing that has ever happened to the earth. It has trapped so many people in a lower paradigm of fear, and it creates so much fear of God and fear of life. That's why you never really see someone that's Christian that looks happy. Christians always look concerned because they're scared, because the whole Christian religion is based in fear. So Christians, either the only time Christians look happy is when they look like they just freshly judged like 10 people, because Christians actually harvest energy from others by judging them for not believing in Jesus. So they harvest them energetically, and it's really dark. Snowfire said, can you tell if someone has had contact with ETs? No, I can't tell. I can't tell if someone has. I don't really know. I don't know what's Sasquatch. I would think it's kind of like an elemental. But I have no experience with that. Are you a fan of one source, one force, or agnostic? I'm a fan of understanding that language is false. So anything that's written in language is inherently a lie, because anything that is inherently true cannot be encapsulated in language. So I hope that helps. It makes sense. I believe that there is an intelligence that governs the entire universe. And I believe that intelligence is what created us. And I believe that intelligence is also one with us. We're not separate from it. And I think any perspective of it is going to be false, because like no matter how many times I draw a picture of this glass of water, it's not going to be the glass of water. It's going to be a picture of the glass of water. And at best, it could be like a photograph of the glass of water, but it'll never be the glass of water. So understand that any truth that's written in language is inherently at least half a lie. At least half a lie. Julian said, can you tell me what should I focus on spiritually? Harmony. You should focus on harmony, because that's what God wants you to focus on, because that's what God is focused on all the time. Focus on what God is focused on, which is harmony. Because with harmony, it's about being in harmony with the universe, with yourself, with your mind, with your friends and family, with nature. That is what God wants from us, is to learn how to be in harmony. So focus on bringing harmony into your life. And that's going to be the absolute best thing for you, is to focus on bringing harmony. Don't focus on worshiping anything. God does not want to be worshipped, because worship implies an idol or an image. You can't worship an image. And anytime you're thinking of God, that's an image of God. The real God is right here, omnipresent. So if you're imagining God in your head, you're worshiping an image. Also, if you think God could be a human, that is an idol, and that is idolatry, which is a sin in the religion that. So it's so funny. So ironic. But also, yes, I do readings, Julian. So if you want to do an Akashic Records readings, it's just a donation. You can donate whatever amount you want to my Venmo, and then I'll tap in intuitively. But, it's just for me to help get you clarity on what messages are being sent through to your soul. I am not an authority. I'm not an authority on truth. I'm just a messenger. Do you like the video game Dead by Daylight? No, I haven't heard of it. Julian said readings. Oh, you're correcting yourself. Yes, I do Akashic Records readings, which is where I tap into your soul's current lesson, what energy you should be working on releasing, and then who in your circle or around you has been draining your energy. So that's what I tap into on the Akashic Records readings. Snowfire said, my beliefs too, but I would add pure of heart. However, we are human. We strive for good. Yeah. We can strive for truth and strive for good, but we can't express it in language, if that makes sense. That's how I view it. We can't express truth in language. Because think about it, language is sounds. Like it's like a monkey. Like, how are you going to encapsulate the truth of the universe into like into sounds that you make with your tongue? Yeah, Julian, definitely. I'll put my Venmo in the chat and you can just send an amount through and I'll do the reading. Or if you have a different platform, I take donations on other platforms too. And my picture has like a gold and rainbow mandala. So it's like you'll notice it. It's like a spiritual symbol. One sec, I'm gonna. But teachings are passed down by language. Are they? Are they though? Why was it important for everyone to have a disciple? Why was it important for there to be a lineage of teachings? Because if you look back into any ancient teachings, they always said it was so important to have a lineage, an unbroken lineage of teachers. Why is that so important? It's because language is not enough. And the great teachers of the world did not write down their truth and then have other people read it. They taught it face to face, and they made sure the message got across beyond language. The language was always the backup. And that's why so many religions are misunderstood, is because we no longer have connections to the lineages that used to teach, and we're now just lost with just words. And you're not able to learn directly from just words. You can tap into the energy of the teacher and you can learn through the words what the teacher actually meant, but you might be wrong. So you have to understand that. So yeah, that's what I would say is any true teaching is passed down through energy. It's not passed down through just words. And any teaching that was just passed down through words is probably not practiced properly, and it's probably not what the person actually meant. Julian said, I don't see the donate button. It's through Venmo. So you have to send it through Venmo. Paul, it depends what you mean. Let's put it this way. No, I don't think Jesus was resurrected. Let's just make it simple so you can understand that I don't partake in your beliefs. Let's just make it simple. If you want to make it complex, I actually do believe what the Bible is talking about. And I do believe in Christ consciousness. And I do believe in the Messiah as an energy that's going to liberate the souls from their oppressors. But do I believe in... This is exactly what I was talking about as well. In the original Christianity, Jesus's resurrection was not even the main point. Think about it. Jesus never taught about his own resurrection. So a lot of Christians listen to Paul, who Paul actually was a murderer. And they listen to Paul. If you actually go listen to Jesus, he never said any of the things that Christianity says. He never said, you have to believe in me after I die and you have to believe that I'm reborn. He never even claimed that he was going to resurrect himself after he died. It's all a telephone game. The real Jesus was spreading messages like spiritual people today. He was like Yogananda. He was like Ram Dass. He wasn't like a rabbi or a leader of a church. He was very much a fringe spiritual teacher. And so if you actually look at Jesus's words, he says nothing about the things that Christians make important. And so why wouldn't you listen to your own master? Why are you listening to Paul and David? Why are you listening to people that didn't even know Jesus and wrote about him 100 years later because of visions they saw? You believe random people and their random visions, and you don't believe the words that actually came out of Jesus's mouth. And that goes to show you why most Christians are totally lost. It's because they don't even listen to Jesus. They listen to Paul. So there. But yeah, it's important to remember that there's no reason to be afraid spiritually of anything at all. Because if there is any reason to be afraid, then God messed up. Because God would never put you in a predicament where you have to announce your beliefs in order to be saved for eternity. If he did, he's a shitty God. That's a shitty God right there that puts you in a predicament where you have to announce that a random 2,000-year-old Arab man was the only God in order to be saved. That's a fail on God's part then. So even if Christianity is true, their God is a loser. So that sucks. Because he can't even save his own children. That's a bummer. My kitty. Snowfire said, I'm a woman of all religions, but a believer of none. I know there is source more powerful, but there is no denomination the divine source belongs to. Yeah. And there's no weird caveats in spirituality where you didn't say the person was resurrected, so you burn forever. Like that's so non-loving of a religion. So separating of a religion. And you can also think about this. This is how I always think about it. If Christianity was so great, then why did so many people die in Jesus's name? How many people have died in Buddha's name? How many people took Buddha's teachings and used it to justify genocide? Why were Jesus's teachings used so often to kill others? Oh yeah, Paul, people died for Allah, but not as many as died for Jesus. Christianity has genocided and terrorized way more people than Muslims. But either way, I am against both of them. I'm against any major religion. Any major religion. If most people believe something, it's probably a lie. That's a good way to look at it. If most people are in agreement about something, they're probably wrong, because most people are not to be listened to. Yeah, the Crusades were so dark. Imagine Jesus coming back and knowing that people just murdered in his name for no reason. Just, we need the Holy Land back. Let's murder them. Oh my God. He would not be a Christian. He would hate Christianity. He would despise Christianity. But that's how you think about it. Why are people able to tap into the name of Jesus and then murder people? Why are they able to tap into that frequency and murder with it? And look at Christians today. Do Christians spread love, or are they everywhere just judging? Christians are judgers. Christians go everywhere to just judge people for not believing in Jesus 10 times more than they actually bring love and God's presence into life. And that's how you know, is because you can't tap into Buddha's name and kill people. It doesn't work. Try. In the name of Buddha, you'll just go sit in meditation. You'll sit in meditation in the name of Buddha. In the name of Jesus, it makes people fight. Because he was a violent being. He wasn't a loving being either. He would go into churches and just flip tables. No one today would call him a loving being. He was violent and he was egotistical. But yeah, Jesus is basically the scapegoat for humanity so that people have something to not blame themselves, but they should be blaming themselves. And it doesn't work to blame it all on Jesus. So a lot of people, a lot of Christians hold a lot of karma or sin, and then they just cry to Jesus about it all the time instead of actually purifying it. Instead of paying their debts, they'd rather put their debt onto another. And that is dark. Yeah, and there are some Christians that understand, like in the 1700s, there was something called the New Light movement in America, where they were teaching about personal faith and your own personal relationship to God instead of having to be in a church. And I think that's beautiful. Like, and also think forgiveness is a beautiful practice. I think it's so beautiful to just forgive everyone for everything and forgive yourself for everything. And I think Jesus gives people like a get out of jail free card where they feel comfortable forgiving themselves for things they've done. So I think in certain ways, that's what it is. For some people, Jesus is what they need. They need to forgive. They need to like humble themselves. They need to get out of their ego. And that's what they need. I don't like that the people in that religion think everyone else needs that just because they needed that. But just like I don't think everyone needs breath work. I'm not going to go around, you guys aren't doing breath work, you're not going to be saved. But I honestly, genuinely think if they were doing breath work, they would have a better connection to God and a better afterlife. But I'm not going to go preach to them about how they're going to hell. I'm not going to go preach to them. You know, I think if something calls to you, there's a reason and you can follow that and explore it. I don't like when people project, where they go, wow, this was so awesome for me. Now every single person needs to do it. I don't think that's good for meditation. I don't think it's good for Jesus. I don't think it's good for Allah. I don't think it's good for anybody. I don't think anybody should be doing that. I don't think anyone should be imposing their own rules onto other people. So that's where I stand. If someone's personal path is Jesus, there's not a bone in my body that thinks that's wrong. If they think their personal path is convincing everyone else that everyone else's personal path is Jesus, I have a problem with that because it interferes with people's psyche. I have a problem with that. Yeah, forgiveness allows you to remove the excess baggage too, says Snowfire. It helps remove the space it takes up in your brain. Yeah. Forgiveness is huge. And I think that's why some people love Jesus and love Christianity so much, is because it gives them an opportunity to feel forgiveness because they genuinely can't forgive themselves. But you don't need church to do that. You can just actually forgive yourself. And Paul said, I've been meditating lately and that was beautiful, bro. Yeah, I like I said, I have no problem with people finding their own way to God. I just really don't like when they impose onto others. And because even I'm not saying Jesus is the wrong way. I don't think it brings you farther from God. I think judgment brings you farther from God. I think projecting your pain onto others brings you farther from God. But sitting in meditation or sitting in prayer and crying and calling out to Jesus, that's awesome. Like, do it. But don't force it onto people, you know? I feel like that's the thing. Do what you want to do what's good for you. Don't get in other people's way. You know? Offer people anecdotes about how when you went to Jesus, you transformed. Sure, beautiful. But don't tell them they're going to suffer and go to hell. I know you didn't, Paul, but like, and I didn't mean, when I was saying Paul, I was talking about Paul from the Bible. I forgot that your name is Paul. Like the author of the books. Yeah, so hope that wasn't too harsh. I have a lot to say on it because I get very tense when people, not for me personally, but I've seen so many people that I know and love be converted into the fear of God. And I hate that. It hurts me. It makes me feel sad because God is not something to be afraid of unless you're actively going against God. If you're trying to be a good person, you have nothing to be afraid of. Unless you have an obscure version of being a good person, like some religious zealots and world leaders. But yeah. I think we all do need God, though. I will say that. A lot of spiritual people think they just need love from source or something. I think we all need to surrender to a higher intelligence. And we all need to realize that humans are kind of dumb. And we are kind of dumb as humans. And you got to trust a higher intelligence that is not of you. So that's one thing I love about Christianity is Christians trust a higher intelligence more than their own intelligence. I think a lot of spiritual people trust their own intelligence more than the universal intelligence. And I think that is kind of a flaw. So, yeah. And then Julian, I don't know if you're there, but it was a Venmo. If you wanted to do the donation, it's on Venmo. So you have to have a Venmo account, or let me know if there's another way that's easier for you to pay. Yeah. And for those of you that didn't know, I'm just doing some donation-based readings for people. We've done a couple so far, and it's just a way to tap in with what your soul is trying to communicate to you so that you can be in alignment. Like sometimes your soul wants to bring you towards healing your trauma from childhood, but your ego is trying to get you to heal abundance blocks and get super rich, right? And if you're focused on getting rich, you're going to actually impede your own growth. And you actually have to know, oh, my soul wants to work on this childhood wound. Let me focus here. And then you'll actually advance spiritually a lot faster, and you'll move through pain a lot faster. Christmas Lantern said, is coffee bad for you? How do I start loving not drinking coffee? This is a good question. Are you still here, Christmas Lantern? Because I have a great answer for this. Because I still drink coffee, but I'm not addicted to coffee. Like today, I did not drink coffee, and I didn't even think about it. So I didn't feel depleted because I didn't have my coffee. That's the biggest signal for substances, whether it's something like very used normally, like caffeine, or, you know, for other people, alcohol, marijuana, like whatever other thing they use. The biggest thing that I can ask people to tap in with is notice how you feel when you don't have it. And if you can feel pretty normal without it, then you're actually doing fine. But if you need it at a certain point of your day, then you're actually dependent on it. So the thing with coffee is it's not that bad. It's not going to kill you. It's not going to do that much to your energy that's that bad. But here's what I will say. Coffee is very distracting. It makes you like, well, it's focusing on your outside, but it distracts you from your inside. So if I were you, I would just take days off of coffee, and then instead of complaining about the bad feeling that comes up, I would actually go into the bad feeling and meditate. And as you work through that, you will actually destroy your dependence on coffee, and you'll start to be able to use it how I use it, where I probably have like 3 cups of coffee per week. Like probably 3 or 4 days, I start the day with a cup of coffee, and I probably don't finish the cup. I probably drink half the cup. So everyone's different. Some people drink coffee every morning and they love it, and that's okay. Um, it's what I would say is you got to make sure you're not dependent on it, because it doesn't even matter that it's coffee. If you're dependent on it, it's draining your energy. So if I were you, I would take a day off and then just sit with the like tiredness and the annoyance, you know? Sit with all that and try to work through it. Because that's actually the stuff that gets in the way of you. It's not the coffee, it's dependency energy. It's very sticky, it's very low. Being dependent on a person or a thing, it's codependent. It shows instability, and it causes people to mistrust or feel like you're not trustworthy, and it causes you to not be able to trust yourself. It's a whole thing. Being dependent on stuff is really bad, not because of the stuff, but because of the dependency itself is really toxic. Paul says, do you think that using substances can enhance your abilities? Of course, yeah, big time, but it can very easily destroy your abilities too. Very easily destroy your abilities. Just like Snowfire said, it's two sides. Depends what. Like, you got to just be able to tap in and know if you're addicted to something or not, whether it's coffee or tobacco or alcohol or marijuana, or some people do like supplements like kratom or whatever, kratom. If it throws you off to not have it, then you should start working on breaking that. That's what I would say. But yeah, you can find a balance for many substances in your life, depending on your personality traits and depending on how they actually impact you. Like for me, I love cannabis, you know? But if I start noticing myself craving cannabis where it's like, oh, I need it, then it's like, I need to cut it off, because that dependence energy is low. It's low. And it gets me stuck into lower energies. But it's the same with coffee. If I skip coffee in the morning and I'm like headachy and not able to get my work done, that's a sign that I'm too dependent on coffee now, and that it's actually draining my energy. So I'd say dependency is what you want to avoid. It's not necessarily the substance, but then also just be aware, like how does the substance actually affect you? Because some substances make you feel better, but they make you out of alignment. They bring you out of alignment. And Snowfire said, fear can be life lessons you are here to learn. Just remember, you yourself made your own earthly plan. I love it. That's awesome. Yes. And Snowfire says, dependence is also genetic. Yeah, and in different ways, like particular types of addiction dependence, like dopamine addiction, are very, very genetic. Like for me, for example, I've smoked plenty of cigarettes in my life and plenty of tobacco, but I've never been addicted to it. Maybe in college a little bit for like a month, but I've never like been I've never craved tobacco really. it doesn't do much for me. Same with caffeine. Like, it makes me a little more energized, but it also makes my heart beat kind of fast. Like, I don't really like it that much if I'm tired, I love coffee. But if I'm feeling normal, I don't really need coffee. I don't really need coffee. And so for me, tobacco's not that big of a deal. Sometimes I'll take a puff of a cigarette here and there because I actually love the feeling of nicotine. It's very spiritual as well. Nicotine is used in many shamanic practices. But if I was starting to find myself, oh, I need that nicotine, then, you know, for me, for example, I don't even own any nicotine. I don't have any vapes or cigarettes. But like if I'm at a party and I've had a couple drinks, I might smoke a cigarette because it's actually a very nice feeling. But you got to watch out for dependency. Awesome. So I'm about to get going. It's been awesome hanging out with you guys. I do want to let you know, in case some of you are interested, I offer free clarity calls for people that are interested in learning more about my practices and working with me. So if you want to do that, you can fill out the form that is at the link in my description. But either way, super happy to hang with you guys here. I'm going to go live on YouTube a lot more. So pop in here when I'm live and say hi. It's been really great talking to all of you guys. Paul, Snowfire, Christmas Lantern, and then before, a couple people that have left, I think, Julian, Deirdre. But yeah, very nice to meet all you guys, and wishing you guys the best, and hope you have an awesome rest of your day, and I'll see you soon.